This is a joke. This ain't our football club, the one that gets battered week in and week out by everybody.
It's been a season to forget for Chelsea. From sacking Thomas Tuchel and hiring Graham Potter, to sacking Graham Potter and rehiring Frank Lampard, and now being out of the Champions League with little hope of making European football next season. Just where has it all gone wrong for the Blues? To answer that, you definitely need to look further back than just August. As in reality, Chelsea have been on a downward spiral for a lot longer than that. So let's take a look back in time and see how the Blues have ended up in such a horrible situation. What's going on, guys? It's Azam Abdullah from the Galacticos podcast. I know this is a bit different, but I asked you guys in the community tab if you guys wanted to see some of these in-depth videos talking about Chelsea and other Premier League teams, and you guys are digging it. You want to see this kind of content, so here it is. All right, let's go back to talking about Chelsea. Let's really go back and let's start from the beginning. Lukaku. Remember that signing? Having just won the Champions League with a goal from their young superstar Kai Havertz, defeating Pep Guardiola's Manchester City in the process, the end of the 2021 season was a really good one for Chelsea. And they didn't just stop there. Boasting one of their most astute coaches in Thomas Tuchel, the Blues made the club record signing to bring superstar Romelu Lukaku back to Stamford Bridge for a staggering 97.5 million. And that was to seemingly put the final piece in their puzzle. And this turned out to be the first in a long list of mistakes at Chelsea. A goal on the Belgians' return to London unfortunately wasn't a prerequisite of what was yet to come that season. The forward struggled to embed himself into the side, finding it difficult to readjust to being a lone striker after his partnership at Inter Milan the previous year with Argentinian Lautaro Martinez. Injuries certainly played a big part in hampering the Belgians' return, failing to truly imprint what was a frighteningly imposing figure on the Stamford Bridge faithful. But to be honest, that wasn't really it. It was Lukaku's interview with Sky Italia that really set things on fire. Speaking just 3 months after joining the club in late December, the forward gave an explosive interview discussing his distaste towards the manager Thomas Tuchel, even stating that he was in love with Italy and longed to return to his former club Inter Milan. Hardly what the fans wanted to hear after spending nearly 100 million to sign him. And naturally, this drove a wedge between Lukaku, Thomas Tuchel and the fans, and eventually he just got dropped. Lukaku failed to rediscover that form that convinced Roman Abramovich to bring him back to London in the first place, ending the season with just 8 league goals, finally getting his wish and returning on loan to Inter Milan that very season. If you just woke up from a coma and I showed you this photograph, would you think that it's from this season? So much went down, and whilst on the pitch things were beginning to look up for the Blues, no one could have predicted what was to come next. Owing to his affiliation with Russian oligarchs, long-term owner Roman Abramovich was forced to sell the club in May 2022. The rare opportunity to buy a top 6 Premier League club naturally drew a lot of attention, but American business owner Ted Boehly was the man who eventually came out on top. Boehly, who has previously tried to buy Chelsea back in 2019, arrived with experience in the sporting industry, owning famous American baseball and basketball teams, the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Los Angeles Lakers. So fans were optimistic his skill set could transfer over to football, but that hasn't exactly been the case. Although despite their off-field issues, the Blues still posted a respectable end to the 2022 season, reaching an FA Cup final, Champions League quarter-final, and securing a third-place finish in the Premier League. And the club was eventually sold in May for a whopping 4.25 billion. Now let's take a look at this season. It's been lost on no one that this season Chelsea's transfer activity has been absolutely wild. The summer of 2022 saw Chelsea welcome a host of top talent with the likes of Wesley Fofana, Marc Cucurella, Raheem Sterling and Koulibaly all arriving for big money. Yet regardless of this summer shopping spree, Tuchel and Boehly never saw eye to eye, and after a run of poor results, the German was dismissed in early September, just 7 games into the new season. Although many at the time questioned Tuchel's dismissal, his replacement Graham Potter had seen his stock rise in recent seasons, being considered one of the Premier League's most well-respected coaches, transforming his side Brighton from relegation candidates to one of the league's most exciting teams. And as expected, Potter made a strong start to life in London, winning 6 of his first 7 matches and being unbeaten in his opening 10 games with Chelsea. But a trip to his former side saw a change in fortunes for the Englishman. Although not many people thought too much of it, that 4-1 defeat at Brighton was pretty much the beginning of the end for Potter at Chelsea, with the Blues losing the following 3 games before the mid-season World Cup break. Despite winning their first game back, Chelsea continued to struggle for form, and goals were becoming more and more of a miracle. And just like the summer, the January transfer window saw Chelsea make a lot of big signings, welcoming the likes of Enzo Fernandez after a brilliant World Cup display, Mykhailo Mudryk, Joao Felix, and it was rumoured the squad was so big, Graham Potter had to run separate first-team training sessions, adding more fuel to the fire as pressure continued to mount on Potter. And let's be honest, even before January, Potter never knew what his best XI was. So the addition of several more first-team players only further threw spanners into the works, with Chelsea still failing to improve. And whilst the Blues did edge past Borussia Dortmund in the Champions League, domestically they continued to struggle. In what in truth felt like a long time coming, a 2-0 defeat at Aston Villa proved to be the final nail in the coffin for Potter, with the Englishman being relieved of his duties just 7 months after being appointed at Stamford Bridge, overseeing just 31 games during his short tenure. And just take a look at some of these stats. And to be honest, a lot of Chelsea fans were happy to see him go. And one Chelsea fan that I know personally who was over the moon when this happened was Sugar Sean. Have a look at this reaction. We actually asked him about that on the Galacticos podcast and what he thought of the whole sacking and the whole Tuchel situation.
It's a good time, lads. It's a good time. Welcome to the good life.
Let's play.
Welcome to the good life. It's a good life, baby.
What's this period been like for a Chelsea fan though? From the appointment of Graham Potter, like I thought he was going to be out of his depth. I thought Chelsea needed a manager with big personality, and this guy didn't have the experience or the personality to deal with the club and the players that they had.
And they've spent like what?
Yeah, and they spent so much money. And these players that they signed aren't really any manager's players.
No.
So whoever comes in,
who's buying? Hey, Sean, let's get something straight here. I want to ask something.
Yes.
We got
Cool.
10 different. Who's buying these players? Is it Bowley? Is it? These guys are making
It's
it sound
not
like.
Potter,
These guys
it's
are making it
not
sound like that's anyone. Random people at the supermarket just like buying players. Like is he? Like who's buying these players, man?
I really didn't. I really at a stage didn't know what. I think everyone kind of has been told, or we're in the know of that. When Tuchel was still in charge, Raheem Sterling is very good friends with like my friends, and Raheem told us that Tuchel phoned him personally to get him to come to the to get him to come to Chelsea. So it was a thing where if Tuchel made that signing, and he must have made a couple signings once he was there for maybe the Aubameyang deal or because of the Lukaku crisis and stuff like that, it was all kind of all over the place. And then obviously with Bowley coming in and sacking Tuchel, I don't even know who was really orchestrating the signings for certain things. Like Cucurella must have been an advisory to Graham Potter before, because they talking to Graham Potter, they said months before they sacked Tuchel. So it doesn't make sense that Tuchel would have, they allowed Tuchel to make certain signings, or they probably used Tuchel to make signings like Sterling and Aubameyang as a pool, because probably no one would have joined, them players wouldn't have joined if they knew Graham Potter was the manager at Chelsea. So I think it was all over the place like that. And regarding things, question about how I feel, like I'm literally going to games and I'm numb to losing now. Like I go to Stamford Bridge and I'm thinking to myself, I'm not up for it. I'm not happy. I'm not even booing anymore. I'm used to losing at home to
it feels
crap
like
teams.
it's been a
So
waste
I'm
of
like,
a season, really.
this has to be changed.
And in one final attempt to salvage their season, Bowley rehired Frank Lampard, the man who was replaced by Thomas Tuchel 2 years earlier. And you could see from this start that he's had it's not going right. And Frank Lampard, honestly, I feel like he's ruining his legacy by coming back every time and just having stinkers. Having lost his opening 5 games in which the Blues have scored just 1 goal, Lampard has already seen Chelsea crash out of the Champions League, and they now look on course to finishing mid-table, well outside the European spots. Not even the Europa League, no Conference League, no nothing. And given his torrid start, it will be a miracle if Lampard even makes it to the end of the season, to be honest. And by the time of this recording, his team is still struggling to score goals, just 1 in their last 5 games and just 30 in the league all season. Honestly, let's stop all the blame games. Let's really dissect this. So what really went wrong? As mentioned earlier, the Blues have been in a downward spiral for the long time right now, not just the last few months. Although he's shown that he's more than willing to splash the cash when needed, Ted Bowley has hindered Chelsea's progress a lot more than he has helped them. With all this reckless transfer spending, Chelsea are pretty much putting together the most disjointed squad in the Premier League. Not only did Bowley make signings neither one of Tuchel or Potter asked for, or likely even wanted, but he did so on numerous occasions. And in doing so, he tied the hands of his managers, almost forcing them to change their tactics to just account for his signings. In doing so, Chelsea have become really top heavy. Their attacking is filled with talent. Superstars, a lot of whom probably won't have a future at Chelsea, let's be honest. And what's more, several of Chelsea's senior players look set to leave London come the end of this season. But it's not just the unnecessary spending that Bowley's been doing throughout the season. For me, it's the sacking of managers, bringing in managers and then sacking them real quick. He should have stuck with Tuchel, to be honest. At the time, I think he had only spent 200 million. It was really the beginning of the season. Tuchel could have turned it around. And then hiring Graham Potter, your season's already going downhill. Like now you're going to finish outside of the top 4. You're going to finish outside of European football as a whole. You might as well have given him more time. What's Frank Lampard going to do? And at the time, many praised Chelsea for hiring Graham Potter, as they look to have made a smart move in appointing an innovative and tactically versatile manager capable of leading a long-term project. However, In truth, in keeping with Bowley's rashness, the American wasn't prepared to give Potter the time he really needed to succeed, being more interested in instant results and performances rather than the long-term growth Potter has been capable of delivering in the past. Chelsea looked to be losing a battle for Potter from early on, and it's arguable that despite his horrendous time in London, his stock as a manager remains as high as ever, with the Blues hardly representing level-headed, well-rationed employees, more so being thought of as the Wild West of Premier League football. The hiring and firing of Potter is perhaps Bowley's biggest mistake here. But to be honest, Chelsea have been... yeah, this was a long time coming for them. It was just too many drastic changes. But in saying all this, what does the future look like? Unless you have a crystal ball or you're Simba from the Galacticos podcast, and believe me, he has made some wild predictions.
Our customers, our number one customers, wallah.
Wallahi, they really are. Wallah.
This
Wallahi, they
year,
really are. I swear to God, they really are.
the customers. Normally, Muhammad Salah would say, "Oh, we won the versus Real Madrid." This year, he didn't say nothing. He knows. Get that work.
It's genuinely difficult to predict what comes next for Chelsea. First of all, Chelsea have to trim down that crazy squad they have this summer. Oh, and Lukaku returns next season. The one shining light for Chelsea, however, is the former Tottenham boss Mauricio Pochettino, who looks like he's going to be taking charge of Chelsea next season. This is a man who definitely has the capability of turning the club around if Bowley can learn from his mistakes. And like Potter, Pochettino is what you would consider to be a project coach. One who will arrive with a long-term vision, and while it may take some time for results to come his way, he will almost certainly deliver. Moreover, the Argentinian has shown an appetite for developing young players in the past, and given the makeup of Chelsea's squad at the moment, he may just be the perfect man for them. The likes of Mudryk, Fofana, Fernandes, and so on and so forth, these are all world beaters that have a lot of potential to come. Chelsea also have RB Leipzig's Christopher Nkunku set to join them this summer, representing yet another attempt to solve their ongoing striker problem. And whilst he isn't an out-and-out number 9, the Frenchman is undoubtedly a goal machine. But seriously, if Chelsea can trim their massively bloated squad and perhaps even bring 1 or 2 more players where needed, they may well enter next season in a good place from the off, and potentially even return to the upper echelons of the Premier League. However, they certainly won't look back at the last 18 months with fond memories. Alright guys, what did you think? Honestly, I've been wanting to do this kind of videos for a while, man. Like I said, the copyrights have been smashing me, so I needed to go away from those kind of videos. Eventually, I'm going to have to change my content, so I thought I'd start early. I mentioned it to you guys in the community tab, and you guys are more than open to for a change of format. So if you enjoy these kind of videos, please let me know in the comments. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new here. And yeah, man, I'll probably do another one of these videos very soon. I'm going to try to do 1 video every week. The best time probably to upload will probably be a Sunday. I'm going to start doing some Chelsea videos at the start, and then hopefully I want to transition and doing more open topics, like more about other Premier League teams or just general football topics. I got this idea from Football Iconic, so I want to give him a shout out right now. Tanashi, the man, go check out his channel. He does some dope ass work, so be sure to subscribe to him. Yeah, what else do I want to say? No, nothing else. I hope you enjoy this, and yeah, like I said before, subscribe, like, do all that nice stuff, share it, and yeah, I guess I'll see you next time. Take care, peace.